Welcome back everybody to another video. In this video we're gonna go over how the Rotel RSP-1576 MKII's processor, how they perform when it comes to gaming compared to today's latest technology such as the Marantz AV7706. That's the other processor that I'm gonna compare, just so you guys kind of get the gist of the Rotel. I know not a lot of people own the Rotel, especially the 1576 MKII's, a 4K 11 channels processor. And as a matter of fact, I'm probably the only gamer that owns this Rotel, because let's face it, not a lot of people know about or can get their hands on this Rotel. Nevertheless, also more than likely, probably this is probably gonna be my last video to end this year. Got a lot of things to rearrange around the house, things to do in this month, and the holidays are coming up. Just FYI. And before I begin, I want to say that when it comes to home theater, there's so many variables and varieties to choose from. If my videos can help you make a better decision, or the information helps you along your journey, I am very happy. I'll be glad for that. None of us is perfect, and we can all learn together. At the end of the day, what really matters is that you enjoy your systems, your home theater setups, and the information shared will help others, which in turn makes the home theater space better for all of us. So the main gaming aspects, ratios, and specs of these two, I have it up there for you guys to see. I'm just gonna go over quickly with the specs here. So for on the Marantz side, which is an 8K processor, right? 8K60, 4K20. Of course, it has HDR, such as your HDR 1000, your HDR 10, your Dolby Vision. It has auto low latency mode, variable refresh rate, that's your VRR. It's compatible with Dolby Atmos. For my setup, is that 5.2.4. It can do more than 9 channels, but I'm running the 5.2.4. And that 0.2, the reason why that's 0.2 is because it has 2 dedicated subwoofer decibel that you can adjust. So I'm currently running the 5.2.4, and it is compatible with Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, or 3D, and it's compatible with IMAX Enhance. That being said, there's not really content out there. That's more like a visual thing, and if it's audio in IMAX, it's still gonna probably use DTS:X, but I just put that in there. So it's as of right now, it's just pretty much as audio wise for the Marantz. It's just that or 3D, DTS:X, and Dolby Atmos. Now, on the Marantz, on the Rotel specs, gaming wise, the Rotel 1576 MKII's, it's 1080p. Well, it's a 4K processor, right? So that's 4K 60 hertz. But gaming wise, it's 1080p at 120 hertz. No HDR when you're doing the game mode. But it does have the auto low latency mode. Now, my regular Rotel 1576 MKII's, it doesn't have auto low latency mode, but it's still pretty smooth, just like the Arcams, but there was no option for auto low latency mode. Just a side note on that. And on the Rotel, there's no VRR, there's no variable refresh rate, but it is compatible with Dolby Atmos and DTS:X. And for the Rotel, I'm running a 5.1.4. Obviously, it has 2 outputs for subwoofers, but the 0.1 is because that the frequency, the decibels, it's, even though you have 2 outputs, it controls simultaneously at the same time, so you can't really individually set them differently. So that's why that's a 5.1.4. Now, both the Rotel and Marantz is identical frames per second and smooth movements when it comes to game performance wise, and they are both on par with one another when it comes to the gaming aspect ratio and the movement, the smoothness, FPS. Like I said, they are on par with one another. Gaming, surround sound in Dolby Atmos and DTS:X, both of these processors sound phenomenal. It's the sound of performance you would want in a home theater. I don't run auto return channels, your eARC or ARC, simply because it's not the full potential sound performance of the processor, and in order to run DTS:X decodes, you cannot put it in ARC. And yes, there's nothing wrong with running ARC or eARC. And yes, you will get the full 4K resolution with the max hertz, the 120 hertz, your ALLM, your VRR on a 4K processor. I just prefer the full bandwidth sound performance of running it directly from the source. And of course, especially when you don't have a 8K 60 hertz or 4K 120 hertz AVR processor, you know, you might have no option but to go eARC or ARC temporarily. So there's nothing wrong with that. Now, all that being said, of course, on the 8K Marantz AV7706, you get the best picture resolution possible along with HDR and all the bells and whistles. So really, the main gaming difference between the two, the Marantz will give you more vibrant colors and maximum resolution, obviously because of the 4K 120 with the high dynamic range, which the Rotel can only produce 1080 120 because of no HDR if you're running 120. I'm only currently running the Rotel 1576 Mach-2s as of this video, simply because I still prefer the sound performance slightly over the Marantz. And as far as FPS or frames per second for gaming, the Rotel is just as fluent and smooth as the Marantz. On a side note, I swap between the two from time to time just to get a different sound refresh. But when 8K content becomes the norm or becomes a thing in the future, I will gladly permanently no longer swap between the two. And one last thing to reiterate, gaming with the Rotel, the picture quality is still beautiful. Obviously, it's not going to be as refined as if you were run it in 4K when you do 4K gaming. But a lot of times, the native 4K gaming, a lot of the ways developed, it's pretty much upscale most games to 4K anyways, so you're not really missing much when you're running 1080p at 120 Hz versus the 4K at 120 Hz. But of course, if you're gonna compare a 4K resolution to a 1080p resolution, the 4K resolution, especially if it's a native gaming, of course is gonna be higher fidelity, more resolution, better pixels. It's hands down gonna be the best picture. But that being said, you're not losing much if you go in 1080p in 120 Hz as far as game as of 2023 right now. So, like I said, I'm gonna end this video. Most likely, it's probably the last video of 2023. And if I don't see you guys soon, I'll see you guys in 2024. But that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for this video, guys. Like, subscribe. Hope you learned something. Comments, questions below. Keep it friendly. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hooded Dragons out.